psychologist's report, the accused was informed by Stanner after murdering the deceased that he will be protected. The inquest finding is one of the manners in which the accused was protected. This firearm was taken away from him after committing the murder, and the intention, in my considered view, was to fulfill the promise they made to protect him. Fast forward into democracy, and in the spirit and ethos of the Constitution, TRC proceedings were initiated where murderers of the Apartheid era were given an opportunity to disclose their evil past in return of indemnity from prosecution, but the accused deemed it not necessary to participate in that process despite being fully aware of such. It's only in 2019, after attempting to commit suicide, that the accused decided to approach a journalist and disclose his evil past. The evidence does not indicate that what led to change of heart. The accused does not take into confidence and tell what motivated him to commit the crime. It is appreciated that the accused was in the police that was in defense of apartheid policies, but he was not the only officer who was part of the operation. All the police officers who he mentioned that were there did not all fire shots at the deceased, but himself and Stanley. The order was simple and straightforward: to arrest the deceased. 12 shots are fired at the person who was sleeping. Accused also decided to give two stories to one story, one in the section 112(2) statement and one in the criminal psychologist report. He writes a letter of apology on the 13th January 2025 after having pleaded guilty on the 12th November 2024 to the family of the deceased, and this clearly means to me that the accused was preparing for his mitigation of sentence. There was nothing precluding the accused to reach out to the family of the deceased and apologize. The surrounding circumstances does not indicate a genuine remorse. The accused, fully aware that he did not participate in the TRC processes which had this matter in 1987, waited for almost over 20 years to disclose what he did in 1987. I'm not persuaded that the accused indeed had a true appreciation of the consequences of his actions. A lengthy period of time lasts between the time of commission of the offense, the investigation, and the prosecution of the accused. It is appreciated that there was no way that the accused could be prosecuted for the case any time before 1994. The matter could also not be prosecuted immediately after the TRC hearing, as the accused did not participate in that process and vital evidence was destroyed in the matter. This is only after 2019 that the matter gained full steam, and this was after a change in the investigating officers. The timeline is in total 37 years, but failure to prosecute the accused timely cannot be laid in the hands of the prosecution. The matter of David Supra, the court, when dealing with a lengthy time taken to prosecute the accused, stated, unquote, "It is indeed regrettable that it took so long to bring the applicant to justice, but this is not an unusual phenomenon in this type of cases, and despite the obvious difficulties posed by the delays, our courts have ably delivered just decisions. I'm not satisfied that the sentences imposed by the court are not appropriate, and that it exercises its sentencing discretion improperly. In my view, the sentence fit the criminal and the crime and fairly balance the compelling interest. Although the element of rehabilitation has little relevance here because of the appellant's age, the sentences would still serve the important purpose of sentence, i.e. deterrence and retribution. This court therefore has no right to interfere." Close quote. Technical psychologists opine that the accused is a suitable candidate for rehabilitation, and a suitability for such sentence was assessed by Mr. Marais from the Correctional Service. punishment is a custodial sentence, but on different terms. Correctional supervision as an alternative penalty to imprisonment can be imposed in any crime the accused has been convicted of. It has been imposed in murder cases, rape, fraud, and dealing and possession of drugs, to list the few. In State versus Samuels 2011-1 SACR 9 SCA, the court, when dealing with the imposition of correctional services, stated, unquote, "It is tried that the determination of an appropriate sentence requires that proper regard be had to the well-known triad of the crime, the offender, and the interest of society. After all, any sentence must be dealt with on its own peculiar facts. It must also, in fitting cases, be tempered with mercy. Circumstances vary, and punishment must ultimately fit the seriousness of the crime. The interests of society are never well served by a harsh or a lenient sentence. A balance has to be struck. Sentencing court must differentiate between those offenders who ought to be removed from society and those who, although deserving of punishment, would not be removed. With the appropriate conditions, correctional service supervision can be made a suitably severe punishment even for persons convicted of serious offenses." Close quote. Based on the circumstances of this matter, I am not persuaded that the accused is a suitable candidate for correctional supervision. The sentence must fit the criminal and the crime, serve the interest of the community, and be blended with the measure of mercy. In State versus Ravi, courts are cautioned not to approach sentencing in a spirit of anger, because being human, that will make it difficult for the judicial officer to achieve that delicate balance between the crime, the criminal, and the interest of society, which is task and the object of punishment is one of him. Due to the advanced age of the accused, rehabilitation is no longer a consideration. The sentence that is going to be meted to you today is intended to serve two purposes: deterrence and retribution. In a clinical psychologist report, you indicated you want to write a book about your life after completion of your trial matter, and the time has now arrived. You will use the time to write a book and fully detail your involvement in the killing of the deceased. Also use the time in your book to educate South Africans who are still living in the racist past to embrace democracy and learn to live side by side with their fellow countrymen. It is unfortunate that the political heads of your time are not standing trial today, who are responsible for promulgating draconian and racist laws that led to you behave the manner you did 37 years back. I hope you will also use this opportunity to reflect, and hopefully you will change your mind and testify on behalf of the state in a matter pertaining to your former colleagues. Also use this time to influence those police officers who kill people, who opposed apartheid and are not yet detected, to come forward and disclose their part in those killings. Having said the above, I'm of the view that the sentence which I'm going to impose will fit the crime that you committed, and you now, as a convicted criminal, the interest of society, and is blended with a measure of mercy. As a result, your sentence is as follows. May the accused stand up. For the crime of murder, you are sentenced to 15 years imprisonment. That will be your sentence. Yes. Court adjourns.
Long live the undying spirit of Czechoslovakia! Long live! Long live! Amanda!